New angle alert. Ooh. Okay, I have to talk about this show. And I was originally going to try to make like a or an Instagram video. But I was like, I can't, I feel like there's too much context for this show and I can't like get it all out in a short video. I need a longer video. Okay, so it's called A Dream Within a Dream. It's a Chinese historical romance, and it's 40 episodes. Whoo, I'm on episode 11. So it's just, there's a lot going on. But basically it's about this girl who gets transported into this script that she's reading for. She's getting casted as the female lead. She's reading the script one day, and she gets transported into the script as the female lead. So she, having read the script, knows the story, okay? The male lead that she's supposed to like marry and end up with and is like her love interest is a horrible person. He's written to be horrible. That is just who his character is. He cheats on her. He just genuinely does not care about her, manipulates her, is not a good character, right? And so she, now the female lead, the actress is now the female lead, is like, okay, well, I'm going to change my fate because I don't want to die a horrible death. Like, why would I do that? And it is interesting because very, very early on in the show, it's shown that, like, every time she tries to act, for the most part, at least they kind of haven't kept this going, which is kind of interesting, but at least not as much. But in the very beginning, she's trying to be like, okay, I'm not going to marry this guy, the main male lead. I'm going to marry the second male lead, who I know who's written to be this wonderful character. He's a good guy. He's so sweet. He's a whatever. And that's who that's who her character was engaged to originally, was the second male lead. So she keeps trying to marry him, but every time she tries to get to him, like physically to get to him, she dies in mysterious but also very silly and like very exaggerated ways. And it just keeps happening, and she keeps getting to the point where she just can't marry him because she just keeps trying to like, okay, now I need to get to his house. Okay, I got 3 steps in, now the brick falls on my head and I die. Like, it's like stuff is stupid, it's gimmicky. So eventually I don't really remember what she ends up deciding to do, but obviously she does end up coming into contact with the actual male lead, who her character is supposed to end up with. She tries to prevent them from meeting multiple times, but because of the fate of the story, she's basically forced to act out certain scenes. So, like, there's a scene in the story that's like pivotal in this like script, is where she falls into the water, he saves her, and then they like kiss, and it's like a big magical moment, and that's like how they like fall in love, quotation. So she tries to like drown when she's in the water, because she's like, no, I don't want him to save me, because if he tries to save me, whatever. And then she comes up out of the water, and then she like tries to like get away from him, and like she like pushes him away, and she's like, I get out of here, whatever. And then the funny part about it is like you hear what sounds like almost like a page flipping or turning, and she's like in her character, like the way that the script was written out. So she's like being like all like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like cute and like coy and like flirting with him. And he's really confused because 5 seconds before that she was like, get away from me, get away. And then she's like, hey, and he's like, huh? And he's confused because he's like, ew, okay, I don't like, this girl is like weird, like whatever. And so he tries to walk away, right? He tries to get away from her, but then he's like physically stopped. You hear the page turn sound, and like he turns around, and then they kiss, and it's this whole thing and whatever. So it's like early on in the story, there's like, it shows that the characters are kind of trying to resist the script, if you will, and then getting forced to do the action, and then being kind of confused of like, what happened? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? And so at a certain point, I don't remember why he decides he wants to kill her. I don't recall why. I'm gonna be so real. I don't remember why there was a reason, because originally he had like married her, because the whole point is like, part of the reason that makes him so terrible is like he originally married her because her dad had some standing somewhere in like the government or something, and it was like a political thing, so he like married her so he could get to her dad, essentially, to like get political favor or something. I don't remember. Again, I'm gonna be honest, that part of the plot is like not that important at this point in the show, so I don't really know what the reasoning was. But anyways, at some point he decides, he's like, I need to kill her. I don't know why. But he can't, because every time he tries to kill her, he physically cannot stop himself from going to save her. So like if he were to like stand right here and he threw a knife at her here, he himself would jump in front of the knife to protect her. So she can't die, essentially, by his hand. And so that brings them to this weird, like, kind of alliance, like, kind of like they kind of have this, like, weird, like, partnership. It's confusing. Their relationship is not cookie cutter. It's hard to explain. It kind of makes more sense in the show. It's hard to explain outside of it, though, because it's just like, why would you be partnered up with someone who was like trying to kill you at some point? But and this is I'm saying this now at episode 11 in my defense of the female lead. Now, there have been a couple moments in the recent episodes where I was getting a little frustrated with her, because I was like, because the whole shtick of it is supposed to be like, this character, the male lead, is not who we kind of think he is. Like, he's not as terrible as we're supposed to think, or he's not all that he seems. Like, he's different, whatever. And we've seen little glimpses here and there that, like, his reputation is a lot worse than of what he actually is, and that's the whole thing. But the thing is her character has she's under no impression that you can act with free will. Oh, excuse me. In this story, because that's the other part, is that I was curious about when I started watching the show, because I was like, how much of it is what am I looking for? Free will. Like, how much of the characters can act on free will? Is there any free will? Is it all predestined? But it's like the story seems to give the characters, honestly, a decent amount of free will in certain moments, where it's because, like, he would act a certain way that he wasn't supposed to be technically acting like, and then the script would force him to act a different way, right? But that whole, like, script part, aside from him protecting her, hasn't really come into the plot a lot since the beginning, so I don't know if they're gonna, like, keep that going or whatever. I don't know. So I don't know if that is, like, the whole thing of, like, well, the story is then going the way it's supposed to. I don't really know. Stuff has changed, obviously, because, like, a ripple effect. It's like time travel. If you went back in time, you would change things, whatever. All that to say, in her mind, he's not gonna change. There's no nuance to his character. She said he's cut and dry, he's bad. He's a bad guy. And he is. In the story, he is. But like I said, the character that we're actually seeing is, like, not low-key that bad. So it's, like, kind of confusing. So she's kind of closed-minded when it comes to him, right? She's like, he's bad, he's terrible. He's always got a scheme up his sleeve. There's a whole thing. Now, here's where it gets confusing. So there's the female lead. There's the male lead, the guy that she's supposed to end up with. There's the second male lead, which is the guy she's kind of she's, like, actually engaged to technically. And then there's a third guy. Now, here's where the third guy gets a little silly. There's this extra character who goes by a different name, runs this, like, separate organization, always wears a mask and, like, this hat, so you can't really see his face. It has, like, a little, like, tattoo by his eye. Well, that guy is the male lead. It's the same character. So he plays two different characters. The guy that wears the mask is kind of like, he's an undercover character, right? Well, the female lead is falling for that guy. Okay? So she is starting to like the guy with the mask. She does not know that the male lead and the masked man are the same person, obviously. No one's really supposed to know. That's, like, a big part of the show, which is ironic because he sounds the exact same, and if you looked at his face for more than 5 seconds, which she has, you'd be able to tell it's the same person. But again, it's a show, so whatever. So she's starting to fall for Masked Man, but Masked Man and male lead are the same person, and so she kind of low-key hates the male lead, but kind of low-key liking the Masked Man, and it's just very cute and also confusing to watch him low-key start to fall for her, but he knows that essentially the real version of him, if you will, she hates, and Loki was trying to kill too, was the whole thing. Because again, she still thinks he's this, like, main, terrible, horrible villain that they have to get rid of. So she was commissioning Masked Man to kill male lead. Masked Man is going to kill the male lead, who is him. Anyways, it's funny because it's complicated, because it's like, wait, this, like, there's, like, nuance. But now the male lead, as the Masked Man, essentially, with his mask on, is, like, saving her and helping her and being and bonding with her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna fall for her. He already is, and it's already, like, adding on top of everything else of this show that's, like, so crazy. How much of it is real? You know what I mean? Because it's like, at the end of the day, Girly is in a script, so at some point she's going to have to go back to, like, the real world. And the guy, here's the interesting part, the character, like, the male lead, the actor that plays the male lead in this script is a real person. So essentially the guy that she's talking to, yes, he's a character, but the real actor does exist in real life in this like world that she exists in her like real life world. So it's like technically if she were, once she goes back to the real world, if she was potentially in love with the actor, at least his face, it's not the same person because the character is obviously just a fictional character. Anyway, it's very confusing. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. And I actually read a book that was kind of similar to this, where a girl, the guy in the book, she was able to communicate with the guy in the book, and then they like fell in love. And I think she also technically like lived in the book at one point. I can't remember, but he like came out and was a real person. It was very confusing. I'm not gonna lie, it was very confusing. So I'm curious to see what the show will do, because like the character of the male lead is not a real person, but the guy that has the same face as him is a real actor in her like real world. So I'm like, also I think one part that's so funny about the show, she has not been remotely concerned about getting back to the real world. Girl literally got to the script and said, okay, so I guess this is my life now. I guess I live here. Like, it's so funny, and I don't know if they're gonna acknowledge it at some point of like, hey, Queen, like, you can't this is not real life. You can't live here. So I don't know. That's funny, and I'm curious to see where they go with that, because literally lives in a book, or she lives in a script. I'm like, you're not even this isn't real life. So anyways, I'm curious to see how it happens. And I think there's like, okay, so in the beginning of the show, like the intro, like it's like animated and there's like scenes and stuff. Sometimes those little, you know, clips of like an animated, the two characters like holding hands or something, sometimes that's an indication of what's going to happen. And I'm almost positive I saw a scene that looked like them kissing, but it looked like he had his hand over her eyes, which I'm like, if that's them kissing so she doesn't see that it's the same, that the male lead and the mask guy are the same person, that's, oh, I like that. I'm a big fan of that. Except for the fact that obviously I want her to know that they're the same person. So obviously at some point that's going to get revealed. I don't know when. And also the animation clip that I saw was so fast, so I think that's what the scene was. But he also may have had his mask on. It looked like they were kissing, and honestly, even if they were kissed when he had his mask on, that'd be kind of cute too. I don't mind that. I kind of like a kiss scene that's like unconventional like that. So anyways, I'm curious to see what happens, and I don't know, it's really good. I'm really liking it, so I hope it doesn't get bad. Okay, anyways, bye, love you.